Let's talk now to Dr. Tony Agbons, researcher, senior lecturer at the Anglia Ruskin University in the British capital, London. He joins us via Zoom. Good morning to you, Dr. Agbons. Nice to see you as always.
Yeah, good morning, Laddie. Good to see you. Happy New Year. I hope it's not too late to say that.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Always enough time to say that. Thank you for joining us. This issue of tanks or no tanks, Germany balking at sending those tanks, many people will say it's historical, but I want to start from where you are. The British have gone ahead while these arguments are going on and have approved the British Challenger tank to be sent to Ukraine. But I'm also told that Britain doesn't have too many of these tanks. So what do you make of that? You know, helping, but possibly at your own cost.
Yeah, thank you, Laddie, for that question. And thank you for acknowledging that the British have already sent some tanks to, a close ally, Ukraine, and understandably so, considering that right from day one, the UK government has stood solidly behind the Ukrainians, in thwarting this aggressive invasion from Russia. Yes, it is true that the British themselves do not have too much of these tanks, especially the world has been relatively peaceful, so to speak. But like it is often said, at all, that is what is bad, So I think it's a good step in the right direction, considering other support that the UK government has given to Ukraine before now.
Now, why I raise that is because on the continent, in Europe, the arguments go on. While some countries, just like Britain, France, and a couple of others have said, look, we're going to send some things to Ukraine, including this vexed tanks. But everybody seems to be putting pressure on Germany for these Leopard tanks. And Germany has said, we are not sending it except the United States approves and decides to send its own Abrams tanks. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think I've been looking at the back and forth going on between Germany, Poland, the EU, and some other European nations. And I think the Germans are just trying to be very careful, considering what they went through, during the Second World War. I really not blame the Germans. And I also look at it tactically. I think the Germans are also trying not to escalate this crisis, especially when you reason and figure out that if the EU and other allies like the NATO alliance, if they begin to give, some of this very huge military hardware to the Ukrainians, that the crisis may actually escalate. So I think Germany is just being tactical. And let's not forget, most of these Leopard tanks, they're actually manufactured by Germany. So I think everybody is just being careful, trying to see how to de-escalate instead of escalating the crisis. But Poland have said that they will likely go ahead to supply their own tanks to help Ukraine. We recall that, that snare piece that broke off the other time, the missile, it did kill a few people in a Polish village. So I think this is more of a strategic, watch the clock kind of view that Germany is taking. Let's not also forget, the way the German system runs, it's only the economic ministry of Germany that can actually approve these tanks going to Ukraine. So that is what it is at the moment.
The other part of this, as you rightly pointed out, is that the Germans have history to look at in being very careful in joining conflicts. That's apart from the fact that prior to this situation in Ukraine, the Germans and the Russians have enjoyed a very close relationship. I think one or two, if I'm not mistaken, German chancellors have gone on after their terms in office to be part of very large Russian economic interests. So there is also that. But perhaps the question to ask you is that if Poland, as you just referenced, decides to send its own Leopard tanks without Germany's permission, this could have impact later on after this conflict is over, because that would mean that Poland has violated the terms under which Germany sold these tanks in the first place.
Absolutely, Ladi. And that is why the Polish Prime Minister, Mateusz Morawiecki, has been a bit tentative. And I think they are trying to appeal to the Germans to give a tacit approval, because it's not something really, you know, in military intelligence and military cooperation between nations, there are agreements in usage of some of these hardware. So I think the Polish government are also, you know, doing a lot of underhand diplomacy, you know, trying to talk to the Germans to see how the deployment of these tanks will happen. But I think the way I look at it, this is just my personal analysis of what is happening on the ground right now. I think the 27 member EU nations, they are trying, and the NATO alliance, they are trying to, you know, size up Russian reactions. And of course, you saw what Russia did. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, he was in South Africa this last week. There's a lot going on, a lot of diplomacy going on. And Ladi, I must tell you this. The point at which the world is now with this Russian invasion of Ukraine, we just pray that it doesn't escalate and that other nations are not drawn in. But if you look at it, we are at the level now where nations are saying, oh, we will send anti-Patriot missile, we will send tanks. So gradually, this war is getting to a very dangerous dimension.
Now, inside the UK where you are, there are other things happening as well, which are in some ways linked with this crisis in Ukraine. The ever-present cost of living and the season of strikes. I wondered if you could update us on that, because you are living through it on a day-to-day basis. When I spoke to you just before or immediately after the Christmas holidays, but before the New Year, you referenced the fact that it's not looking good. Has the situation improved since then?
Ladi, you are going to that zone again. I must tell you that the perimeter is not looking good. We are all reeling, including myself. I'm not going to take myself out of this. And for some reason, nature also decided to throw a punch at us. It's been very cold here. It's been freezing, and people are reeling. The word on the street, people are in pains. And there's practically nothing anybody can do. And then you mentioned the strike. The strikes have been on, ambulance drivers, railway workers, nurses, the border force, the postal workers, even junior doctors are threatening now, they've balloted. So it's been catalog of strikes on strikes. And the alarming thing is that the government of the day have not had a hand on it. There's not been serious negotiations. They have not been sincere with the people. And as I speak to you, a lot of strikes are also being planned for the end of this month and in early February by different unions, ROMT, UNICEF, all of them. They are all, pushing to go on strike. And even my constituency, the education sector, universities and colleges, teachers in secondary and primary, they are all going to go on strike, in batches in February and March. And these are serious discussion to the fragile UK economy occasioned by the Russian-Ukraine crisis. So that is where we are. There's a lot of uncertainty here and not a way to start the new year.
Indeed, it's quite tough. All the reports we have indicate that it is quite tough. But I guess the government may not be able to respond because, as you had told us on the previous occasion, if it was to engage in negotiations, that would probably lead to rises. And where is it to find the money to pay? So which is why they seem to be keeping mute.
Absolutely. I think the government is afraid that if get to answer one of the unions, the others will come, the swarm of them like bees and honey. So I think they are just being careful. But what most of us, keen observers like us are saying is that it's no alternative to negotiations. You need to be honest with people, open, come to the round table and discuss. And like I always say in negotiations, you can't get everything. You win some, you lose some.
Indeed. Dr. Agbos, as always, a pleasure having you with us on the program. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Ladi. Have a great day.